Hey, good morning. Doc D in a dungeon with a new project. Actually, this is a project that I've been doing for a while. About a year ago, I have a lot of lights and cameras and stuff for scuba diving, spearfishing, what have you. And I wanted the way to kind of encompass all that into one portable container. And so, I went to Harbor Freight and I bought the Pelican knockoff. I don't know what the hell this is called, the Apache 4800. And so, I just basically, this was an afternoon project of putting this together. And so I've got a power supply here that's got a couple of USB banks in it. And I got my cameras, SD cards, battery chargers, so forth and so on. And so this was, it's quasi-functional. I've used it, but I have a lot more stuff that needs to go in there. And so if we close this up and we come back over here, we have a lot more stuff that needs to go into it. And so, and this thing is dirty, pay that no mind. So I'm going to redo this, and I'm going to do some subtractive manufacturing as well as some additive manufacturing in that. I'm going to do some 3D printed storage containers that fit in here cubicle style, and then I'm also going to make use of this back panel, and I'm going to improve upon the power strip, and I'm going to put chargers up here. And so back to me. So this is the way I do stuff like this is that I will take everything out and arrange it in what I think is a workable fashion, and then I'll kind of start massaging things around. And the closest person that I see do this is Adam Savage, and he does a lot of this kind of thing, and I get a lot of inspiration from watching his videos. But basically, just laying it all out and seeing, as Adam says, the form factor and how it works. And so this will be probably a 2 or 3 day project as I move things around, I cut stuff out, I 3D print stuff. And again, the goal is to have something that is fully functional for all of my various miscellaneous electronic stuff, cameras, lights, so forth and so on. And so here we go. All right, so basically I just went ahead and disassembled everything, and I've got most of my stuff here that I want to put in there. I got some over there. And then, so I'm just going to go ahead, I traced out, this fits the top and the bottom really well. Actually, the top will only be just a little bit larger, like probably 1.5% bigger. But this gives me a template that I can lay stuff out in and see, how does it fit spatially. And so I'll do a couple of these, and then I'm just going to start grouping like stuff together and trying to figure out a pattern that works for me. Alright, so here we go. This is what I'm thinking about for the top. And I've got all these laid in there. Just kind of looking at spatial relationships. And so what I'll do is I'll 3D print a surround for each one of these, and I'll have a bar that comes across that will snap in and snap out to hold the batteries in place while the lid is closed. Each of these lights will just stick in and then snap in. Same with my inReach. This would be the top of the bottom. It'd be the top shelf of the bottom. And obviously, if you look this way, these two lights are very tall with the handles installed, and I may wind up having to take those handles off, but I think that I can get away with leaving them on, and I'll just make these stick all the way through both levels. And then, you know, leftover stuff, you know, I've got my little waterproof pack with my captain's license and stuff in it, an extra GoPro, an old GoPro, and then, you know, I want to put this thing in there too so that I can charge stuff that I wouldn't normally have in the thing. And then of course I got a whole miscellany of freaking wires that who knows. So anyhow, this is coming along pretty nicely, just trying to get spatial relationships for each thing set up. And each of these cameras will sit down in a little nook, and so they'll be somewhat protected. Dive computers as well, and so coming along pretty well. Alright, so here we are back. So this will be the top tray in the bottom of the carrier, and so I'm going to build up walls around this, and I haven't decided just how I'm going to do that. And I may actually just 3D print something because I'm kind of liking that idea a little better. But so I'll do that. These lights will actually sit through, they will fall all the way through this, and then the Goodman handles will sit on the top of it. And so anyhow, there we are. Back later. Alright, so I just put together kind of a real brief sketch capturing major dimensions and their relationship to kind of see how close I could get. And so if you look, the overall camera is really close. I'm a little skewed left to right, but overall it's pretty close. So I'm going to clean that up, and I think I'll have that on the second try. Back in a few. Alright, so now we got revision 2. I tightened it up a little bit, and I like it pretty good. I still got to, I'm going to shift this edge over just a little bit, maybe a 100 thousandths or so, and that should be really good. And I may or may not cut a notch for the button. I haven't decided how high up I'm going to go on this, but alright, so I went ahead and cut 2 more sheets so that, you know, just stacking them. I think that's all I'm going to do, and that works out pretty darn good. So that'll keep it from moving around, but makes it easy just to grab it up out of there. So pretty happy with that. Now I just got to model, adjust this to fit the other cameras. Where's Scuba? Hey guys, welcome back. Doc D in a dungeon. Say hi to Chalupa. Chalupa's checking out our handiwork here. So anyhow, I started on this. I started on this charging box, light box, whatever you want to call it. Again, you know, I started out with a just hang on right there. You know, I had some trays that slid in and out, and you know, and it worked. It just, you know, it was a quick. I think I spent about 4 hours on that, and you know, for 4 hours it was pretty good. But I wasn't happy, and so I wanted something better, and so I've been working on this for 3 days, off and on. You know, a couple hours here, a couple hours there, and I'm pretty happy with where I am. I still have a lot more to do. I still have to do the top part, which will be the battery chargers and all that good stuff, and we'll look at those here in a minute. But I'm going to have you zoom in and take a look here. All right, can you still see everything? All right, so I've got my computers there, and they will come right on out, either one of them. My primary lights. Oops. Of course, anytime that you try to do something on camera, it's not going to work. These are just set in there. They will slide around a little bit, but on the bottom side of it, I made use of what otherwise was wasted space, and I wound up 3D printing these, and I'd set it up to do both of these at the same size, and then I didn't take into account the taper for the bottom, and so I had to reprint this other one. But I like it. I like it really well. These sit in here nice and tightly, and I calculated this out, and theoretically there's enough room for a divider to go in there, but I didn't take into account the curvature of the corner, so I had to take that divider out. I'll probably put a shorter one in there just to kind of keep them from rolling around against each other, but overall I'm pretty happy with it. Hey, welcome back. All right, so got that all stowed back away. Again, you know, this is a 95% solution. I'm probably going to build this up one more layer just to make sure they don't slide around. But honestly, I mean, they're in there pretty good. I probably could have gotten that one a little tighter. Maybe on the next iteration I will, but probably not. So stuff that I still have to find a place for, and you know, I'm rapidly running out of room. One of the things that I wasn't thinking about is that, so I have a cutter on top of this light, and I'm actually going to put a cutter on top of that light as well, and that's going to eat up into my real estate up here. So this chunk is going to be pretty much unusable. Probably what I'll do is I'll get a little snap in for this, so this will go right here. Make use of that room, or maybe here. I don't know yet. Still working on that. But the majority of the stuff that I have left are chargers and batteries. And I think I can fit most of that over, you know, I've got about 3/4 of the real estate here. I've got, I think about 10 inches over that I can use. And so it's going to happen, it's going to work. Will it be perfect? No, but it's a whole lot better than nothing. I mean, what I used to do is I had a big tote, I just threw stuff in it, and that's how I worked. So how did I get to this point? So I am a big proponent of using cardboard. You know, cardboard and laser cutters, some people will tell you, you know, not a good idea. Well, I've got my air cranked up so it's blowing right through the orifice where it's cutting, and you know, so as long as I'm watching it, I haven't had a fire here yet. Now, back in the university, there were a couple times over the years that I was there that I had small fires that started. Never in cardboard, actually. You know, you can't just let a laser cutter run, right? All right, but anyhow, so cardboard's cheap. You know, we go to Aldi's and we buy the cheap stuff, and we grab a box or two while we're there to put our groceries in. And so this is how I started this. Let's see here. Let's see if I can find. So my initial, this was hand cut and got really close to my my final dimensions. All right, to the point that I liked this. It was really good. So that's where I started with, and I took critical dimensions off of this, transferred them in, and then I don't know if I still have the original one that I cut. Probably not, because there's been a whole lot of this. For the GoPros, each one of these 3 GoPros is completely different. The 11 and, or excuse me, the 12 and the 10 are pretty close to each other. Minor modifications. The 11 Mini, completely different. And so, you know, I had to go in and make, you know, basic approximations, and I go and I cut it out of cardboard and check it, and you know, I got to where I'm close. I'm happy. Like I said, the Mini, I could have got a little better, but it is what it is. All right, so you can see, you know, I was actually tracking my revisions on here, so I go make some revisions, cut it out, and I do a test fit. One of the things to think about when you're using cardboard is that cardboard is compliant. And what do I mean by that? If you're putting something that's a close fit, cardboard will bend. And so I got to the final revision on these light holders. Can you zoom in, babe? Come over here, pick up over here. And I didn't take into account that this was tapered out. And I thought I had it, and I did the cardboard fit up, and it was good. And then I cut the I cut the plywood, and like, oh wow, yeah, I'm like 15-20 thousandths off, and that's not going to work. So I got lucky in that I had just pulled this straight out, and I left the motherboard already in situ, in place on the laser cutter. So I was able to go in, make two real quick changes, and I set it in there, set it back in, and cut it right out. And so I got lucky on that one. Otherwise, I would have had to recut the whole thing. But you know, I went through, for this whole thing, I've probably gone through 30 revisions. Let's see. So, you know, one of the hazards of doing stuff from one day to another is that you'll make changes to something and forget about it, or think that you made a change and not. And so while these all three look very, very similar, and I stopped tracking revisions on these because I wasn't going to stop until I got that done. But the primary revision was the handles here. I think that's one of the early revisions. They're still kind of narrow. I had to open those up, and I actually had to shift them back a little bit. I didn't get my measurements dead on. Yeah. And so here you can see, here's an updated revision, and you can see that I opened it up and I actually scooted it back, you know, a little over 1/4 inch. That's a pretty hefty modification. The dive computer holder here, again, I didn't take into account, there's variability in this cheap Chinese plywood. Luon's what they call it. I use it because it's fairly cheap. It was $14 a sheet. Now it's $23 or $24 a sheet, but it's still pretty cheap to work with, and it's pretty durable. But there's a lot of variation from sheet to sheet, and so, you know, this is an early variation, and I was looking at, man, how do I get the straps to fit in there? Well, I thought, oh, if I do those, it'd be work. And then you can see I went from this to the other one is a little wider. Actually, that one's not wider. I think it's that one. I widened them up, and then the last revision was that I added these little holes in there on each side. And man, that works really well. This is my primary dive computer that I wear, and so it works really well to stow that in there. And the other one, I've got the factory straps on it, and it still works just fine. It fits in there just as well. But it's multifunction. I can put either one in either place. But yeah, so a lot of changes, a lot of revisions, and you know, cardboard helped me walk through it. This is, I bet this is not even half of the revisions that I went through. These are just the major ones. And but cardboard's free and allows you to get through. So anyhow, I hope you're enjoying this. I'm going to continue to plug away on this. Probably won't get anything done in the next couple of days. But next week I plan on tackling the top here and getting our batteries installed in there. And then I want to have a power outlet in here, you know, a power strip. It may not happen. There's not a whole lot of room, so that may not happen. But I'd like to, and so we'll see. Anyhow, I hope you're enjoying this video. Please like and subscribe. Doc T out. Have a great night.